Do the leads of the new D&D hate you? Welcome back, YouTube. It's your old pal Double D. Today we're going to continue our look at some of the creatives behind the new edition of D&D and what they might think of you if you don't toe the line, shall we say, politically. We already looked at Chris Perkins a little while ago, and I think we discovered that Chris is not the greatest individual in the world. We're going to look at Ray Winninger and Jeremy Crawford today, and we'll see what they are thinking by looking at their Twitter. Before I do that, if you could, go ahead and like this video, and if you want to see more of this type of content, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I thank you sincerely. All right, let's start with Ray Winninger. Winninger. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but he is I think the overall head of D&D, so I think he is driving the bus, as they say. I looked at his Wikipedia. It said that he was a competitive chess player as a child, and that's sort of tracked after looking some of his later tweets. He seems like a very precocious man. I can only imagine the way he was as a child, but apparently he has a lot of background in role-playing. It says that he worked at TSR in Advanced D&D. He worked on a Doctor Who adventure, a game called Underground. He worked on DC Adventures and Torg, I think through Mayfair maybe. But he's not getting top billing in any of this stuff. He worked on Dragon Magazine just as a regular. I gotta say, I mean, nothing really blew my skirt up as far as being impressive. It seemed like he would either contribute to the works of others, or the stuff that he did do seemed really obscure. So maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm only getting half the picture. If I am, go ahead and let me know. But his bio didn't really impress me very much. We look here and see one of his tweets when he came on board. He said he noticed a group of fans demanding that Wizards of the Coast demonstrate it cares about old school D&D players. Well, Wizards of the Coast put me in charge of D&D, and I'm old school myself. I started playing in 1977. Does that suffice? It kind of just drips with douchebaggery, let us say. So we're not off to a good start. Let's see if he's political. What do you think the chances are? Pretty good. So here he is answering someone else's tweet. Scott Walker saying we should be bombing the Taliban, ISIS, and anyone else who messes with American lives back to the Stone Age. Good old Ray says, well, bombing Ron DeSantis may sound like a great idea, but think of all the innocent civilians who'll become collateral damage. So he is comparing the governor of Florida, a Hispanic, to the Taliban or ISIS. Pretty clearly has no problem with old Ron getting bombed. He just is worried about the collateral damage. These people, they think they're the good guys. Here's another one where someone is talking about the limitations on free speech and how they're uncomfortable with it. Ray, not a big fan of free speech. It's not a bunch of Americans, for fuck's sake. It's a couple of individuals who have long flouted the simple and sensible rules of these platforms, nor is it coordinated. You would get this from any standard leftist on Twitter. I hate to say it, but the new lead of D&D, the guy who took over from Mike Merles, he is an out and proud leftist. And here he is championing the biggest loser of them all, Stacey Abrams, who looks down on anyone who would question the validity of an election, except her own election that she lost, and hopefully she'll lose again. And here's Ray seemingly denying that Antifa exists. This is a new tactic that they're using. You know, like, oh, Antifa's not a group, it's an idea. like those people that throw bricks through windows and commit violence are just an idea. Surely Ray had some reasoned views on former President Trump. Of course not. Here he is going to the standard orange man bad, almost literally. So predictable. And he seems to be a real fan of Joe Biden. Here he is doing his best to deflect any criticism that old Joe might face from old Hunter's laptop. And finally, here he is talking about the old Mueller report back in the day. Looks like he was doing some serious coping and seething about that. But so Ray is let's just say, a very out and proud leftist. No two ways about it. I would say if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, if you're an old school liberal who doesn't agree with what's going on, I don't think Ray has very much time for you. Let's take a look, though, at Jeremy Crawford, the lead rules designer. And you know what? I gotta say, I was surprised in a good way when I went through Jeremy's Twitter. I went through about 2 years of each of these guys. Let's not get too excited. I think Jeremy's still a liberal, at the very least. I don't know if he's a leftist, though. In fact, he sticks mostly to D&D and related posts. I gotta say, I gotta give credit where credit is due. It's mostly on point, and this is what I would expect one of the leads of a company, what their Twitter should look like. He talks about, his job in a very enthusiastic way. Here he is, just talking about election day. He's just telling people to vote miraculously, not vote a certain way, just to vote. Nowadays, we'll count that as progress. And when Joe Biden won, of course, he was celebrating the fact that Kamala Harris was going to be the vice president. Not terrible. Obviously, it's probably his side, but it doesn't seem like he's gloating. He's not rubbing it into anyone. He's not attacking anyone. He's just saying, congratulations, essentially. Again, I got no problem with this. About as political as he gets is he's talked a couple of times about being a gay man. He's gay and married. Here's one tweet. A few times each year, someone on Twitter states or implies that I'm a cishet. I make sure to pass that on to my husband. Thankfully, he sticks with me. And here's kind of just a generic, hey, LGBT people, keep your chin up. What Jeremy doesn't realize as a gay white male is that he is hanging on to the bottom of the diversity stack for dear life. When something trendier comes along, they are going to stomp the fingers of gay white men completely off, and you will fall to earth with the rest of us fallen angels. Thing is, don't worry about it. Kind of cool down here. Now, don't get me wrong. He is doing his best to make sure that the new edition of D&D is very woke, as you can tell with this tweet. You've reminded us that alignment is a suggestion. Does that mean you're not changing anything about D&D people after all? We are working to remove racist tropes from D&D. What racist tropes? Just so stupid. It's not a racist game. It never was. Never invited racist people to play. I've been to numerous Gen Cons. I've never seen any sort of incident ever. It's the most open community, but you have to make up villains, I guess. All right, so that's going to do it today. Ray Winninger, very disappointing. Jeremy Crawford, kind of surprised. Slightly pleasantly surprised, even though he's kind of helping to ruin D&D. At the very least, he doesn't use Twitter to insult people, or at least from what I saw. I only went back 2 years. Maybe there's something out there, but you can at least say lately he's been acting pretty good. So that'll do it. Remember, go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And I will be back later on with another video. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.